Hi, everyone. I'm James Protin. I'd like to give a special thank you to our sponsors for the podcast, Candelore's Barking Beauties, with 5 locations throughout the region, and His Place Coffee Community and more here in Menneson for hosting us.
Hi, my name is Kelsey Candelore, owner of Candelore's Barking Beauties, where our salon is your salon. We have 5 convenient locations, no appointment needed. All breeds welcome. Any size dog. We are open Tuesday through Saturday from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. We have 5 convenient locations: Elizabeth, White Oak, Finleyville, Monongahela, and Irwin. Love to have you visit us.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining us today. We have a tremendous show today. One I'm very excited about. Joining us today are Kellie McKevitt, the CEO of Southwestern Pennsylvania Human Services, and Joey Pagano, who is a licensed therapist, a motivational speaker, and an author. And filling the co-host chair again is the legendary and somewhat annoying Jack Cadwalader, my man. Somewhat. So welcome, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm really excited for today's show.
Thanks for having us.
Very glad to be here.
Excellent. So we're going to get into a little bit of a different type of dynamic than what we normally do on this show. Normally, we're just really light and just kind of, friends having a conversation. But today, we're kind of go with you guys to a little bit of a darker topic, right? Addiction, recovery, and that. And that's not something that is easy for people to visit, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's and we don't think we don't think of addiction to the levels that that you've experienced being in a small town here, right? That's a big city problem, That's New York City, that's Chicago, but we do have those problems here, and you can speak firsthand about that. And I've seen things that you write and that you post, and you speak about a lot about being on rock bottom, hitting rock bottom, and that's when you actually got it hit. The light bulb went off and said, "Listen, I got to do something here. I'm not going to be around much longer."
Yes, and I remember those days and just rock bottom where you just have nothing left, and you're just faced with addiction and just you're in the grips, and you have to make choices that will determine the rest of your life, and you just want to get out, but you don't know how. And that was my life for just so long.
What would you, in your mind today, being so many years removed from that, and now that the things that you've done, we'll get into, are just impressive, young man. But what led you there? Was it just?
Before we get into how many years removed, he's just about to hit. We're how many days away?
A couple days away.
9 days, not less?
About 2 weeks away from 9 years clean.
Congratulations. That's awesome. That is awesome.
Fantastic.
Good for you, man.
Fantastic.
I'm very proud of you, young man. That is a tremendous accomplishment. It really is. So.
And it was, not just a tremendous accomplishment, it's just something that, I have to keep in the utmost importance of my life, because like you were just telling me, like those days that led up to that were the darkest days of my life. Hell's just not a place you go. It's something I carried around with me for a good 22 years. I spent in active addiction, just looking for a way out.
Right. So what would you say? What's your assessment? What would you say led you there? Was there a traumatic event that happened in your life? What led you down that path in the first place? Because you were young when that happened.
Yes. I was in active addiction. I started when I was about 16 and a half. I'd say right around there. I was in the military. I used substances in the military. It carried me into when I got out of the military. I came back to the Valley, and drugs weren't as bad as they were now, but like I said, there wasn't cell phones. We were in an age where we hung out at the local bars.
I was there with you. I was there with you.
Yeah, Jack was there, and then like all of my experiences, the peer pressure and just wanting to be accepted in places where I didn't accept myself, and I just wanted to fit in. Right. And I just, from just a lifetime of just trying to just be okay who I was, and then just, finding drugs, and that led me to fit in. And then that just, led me down the rabbit hole. And for 22 years, I lived in that prison.
It's a tough place to be, because like we were talking, once you slide down there, okay, it's a slippery slope, right? And it's next to impossible to climb back up there because you might be able to claw up a little bit, then you slide back down.
Yes. You know, and every bottom just has a trap door,
Right.
you know, and you think you can get lower, but the disease of addiction, it just opens that door and you dig deeper.
You become a great excuse maker.
Yes, yes, manipulator, excuse maker, and just anything to just show up for duty for the disease of addiction.
Yeah, and honestly, humans, I think, okay, now you guys are more experts than I am, but I think humans can literally be addicted to anything.
Yes.
Oh, without question.
It doesn't have to just be drugs that would lead you to that place, right? So I have a friend who's struggled with alcoholism, drugs and alcohol, kicked it all, right? Kicked it all, but he'll tell you, okay, he's 58 years old now, and he'll tell you he's still an addict. Okay, even though he's not actively imbibing, he's not doing the drugs, he's not doing the alcohol, he's kicked that, but he still considers himself to be an alcoholic and an addict, right? Even though he's been clean for over a decade. You know, so do you see yourself that way? Do you see yourself still as an addict or recovering addict? Do you add an adjective to that? Or?
I mean, I'm a recovering addict right now, or I'd call it a person in long-term recovery. I'm always going to be that person. I mean, those struggles did not define who I was. They refined who I am today. So, you know, I got to believe that it's a daily reprieve. And like everything I have in my life up to this point is a direct result of helping someone else. And like, that's why I continually, you know, my purpose is built through that. So I'll always be that person. And I'm grateful for, I wouldn't want to change any day.
Like
any bit of it.
like
That's
James
excellent.
said, you guys obviously know more than we do about this. But I've heard this term a couple times. I'm not sure if it's the correct term at that moment of clarity, that point zero. Did you have that moment where you were like, look, this is it. This is it.
Yes.
I either move the old get busy living or get busy, like
Yes.
this has to happen.
That's
What
it.
was that one moment?
Jack, I remember it, and like I could feel my heart beat. Like I could go right back to that place, and it was just, you said it. Sometimes in your life, you're faced with the decision where you got to get busy living or get busy dying, and just like you said. And I remember that where I was faced with no money, no anything. And the disease that says, you know, you got to show up for duty. You got to keep going. And I just wanted a way out. And I found myself going to commit a crime, right? Going to commit a crime at the gas station, just do whatever it takes for the next one. And, and I'm begging God, just like on one shoulder, it's like, just, I don't want to do it anymore. But on the other shoulder, you got to go. You got to keep going. And I remember going to commit that crime and just begging God, please help me. And after I committed a crime, you know, I got down on my knees and I prayed and I just said, please God, I don't know what to do. I said, and I had to get busy living, and I didn't know if I was going to get busy dying. And I said, please just help me. Just please help me. And I remember marching down to the police station and I said, listen, I can't do it anymore. I remember that. I said, please turn me in. I walked in and just turned myself in. And I said, listen, like, I want to live. And I want to live, but I don't know how. And I don't know how to live, and just please help me. And at that moment, that was that moment of clarity in prayer, in that thought, in that decision that would determine the fate of my life. And I haven't looked back.
That's powerful.
That is super.
That's powerful. And you know, the fact that you still carry that moment with you in your heart. I see where it came from just watching you tell that little story right there, right?
Yes.
That came from right here.
Yes.
And keep that there. And you're
Yes.
going to, and I love the fact that you found your redemption, so to speak, right?
Yes.
In giving to others, in helping others.
Yes.
Right? So you always, if you want to receive anything in life, right? What do? You give.
Yes.
Right? The more you give, the more you get back, the more you receive. Yes. And you're living proof of that. You are absolutely living proof. And I got to tell you, I'm so excited right now because if you look at this, live, love, learn, pray, inspire, right? I've been doing that I've been writing a blog for 10 years and I've been using that tagline at the end of the blog, right? That's you.
100%.
That is you. That's your journey right there. Those 5 words are your journey. My father taught me that when I was a little kid, right? And when I had my moment, okay, he reminded me of those. And those are the 5 pillars that you build a solid life on. And that's you, young man. Listen, your story, it hit me right here. which is when Jack brought this up, I was thrilled to death. I was so excited about today. So, and I want to know, I really want to dig into wherever you feel like going, but I really want to know when in that moment, right, that did you ever consider ending your life?
You know, when I was facing that decision, and like I said, I could go right back there, and I think that keeps me close to my purpose. And I did think it was all, you know, it was like I said, that left side of your brain's coming up with an idea, and the right side trying to buy it, you know. And I remember that moment, and it was just end your life, you know, do whatever it takes, because the disease of addiction, just you can't stop. Right. And you got to suit up, and you got to keep going, and you got to keep marching no matter what the cost. And I remember it was just suicide. I never had the guts to do that, you know. And like I said, is now that as I look back, you know, my purpose was built through that, and that wasn't my purpose. But and that was why that, like, I didn't have the guts or whatever it was in that, because that wasn't my story. My story wasn't done.
Your story wasn't ready to end.
It just wasn't written.
And you knew that.
And I just spent every day trying to just do whatever I can to keep me from that next one.
So you hit that moment, you turn yourself in.
Yes.
Okay. This marvelous woman sitting next to us here, when does she come into Joey Pagano's picture?
Well,
Later. It was later.
yes. And like I said, we talk about things that happen in your life. We talk about divine appointments, people that are put in your life, that carry you through places that you can't get through and put you in just moments in your life. And Kellie McKevitt is that person. You know, I became, at that time, when I stayed clean and I got through that moment, I didn't know what was there for me. So I come back, I saw a nonprofit struggling to stay afloat. Nobody, you know, it was connected to some 12-step fellowships and different stuff. Club Serenity, Inc.
Yep.
So I became president. I got voted in as president of that, and I served that for...
That's where you and I met.
Yes. And it was, you know, like I said, it wasn't supported as much in the community. It was in a time where, you know, there was still a lot of very big stigma.
Oh, yeah, there was.
The stigma on addiction was pretty much...
Not my backyard. The NIMBYs, right?
That
Not
was
my
it.
backyard.
That was it.
I remember the pushback that you guys got, you know, when you were coming into the community.
Yes.
You know,
and when you come from places where I came from, you want to make a difference, and you want to help people. Like, right, we get put in these positions so we could pull other people out of the pit.
Right.
And that's kind of what my philosophy was behind, you know, Club Serenity. So me and several other people, you know, Mark St. Cyr, Lee Roberts, Mindy McCloy, and we all served as officers of this. And, you know, I helped write the grant for, you know, a recovery house that was, we were looking for the area, which we spoke at council meetings.
Sure.
So at that point, we knew that we needed to reduce the stigma, which we did by holding, we held rallies for recovery in the area, and we also needed supportive housing. So at that point, we approached the council and just tried to make a difference. And at that point, we approached Southwestern Pennsylvania Human Services, which I didn't know Kellie at the time, but I was on a mission from God.
There you go.
And I don't know how else to explain it.
No, you
that's
were.
what
I mean, that's it.
That's
the best way to explain it. Yes.
That was in my head, and nobody was stopping me. And I don't care how much, not in my backyard, how many people told me no, it wasn't registering for this person. I was just going to keep going. I never gave up.
Right.
And then we went and met SPHS for the first time. And then this great person entered my life, Kellie McKevitt.
Yeah, and it was, that wasn't really when it came together. Because the club, understandably, so then here's SPHS. We do $70-some million worth of business, over 1,000 employees. We're across 6 counties. And these guys are like, they're taking money out of their own pocket a lot of times to pay their bills. So they're like, how is this all gonna, come together?
Right.
And we're trying to come to terms, like, how could we work together? So it isn't really irony. It's more like, a manifestation of something that needed to happen in our community.
Law of attraction.
Yeah, so there's this grant that comes out for this Center of Excellence for Opioid Use Disorder, and you could apply for it. So Cheryl Demela, who's now our Chief Operating Officer, but she's really like our Chief Clinical Officer for sure, who has the background. She's a licensed clinical social worker. She's certified in trauma. We're like, let's do something with this. So a lot of people are going to apply as far as nonprofits, big nonprofits, but we saw this window of opportunity. We were like, we're going to do something different.
Yeah.
We're not just going to apply and get this $500,000. We're going to actually do something. And it meant a lot to me for the Mon Valley in particular, because here I'm walking around the community. I live here.
Right.
And I see what's going on.
Right.
And I see the overdoses, and I know this needs to happen.
Devastating.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, what it's done to the Mon Valley is
Yeah.
devastating.
So the thing that struck us was we worked in the field. So at this time, I'm already 25 years in the field. She's maybe, I don't know, 10, 15 years. And the problem that we're having is the way that substance abuse treatment is set up, there was like at least a couple major flaws. One was that a lot of times, like Joey said, he was on his mission to use. He's not on his mission to get into treatment.
Right.
But everyone surrounding friends and family often want to do that, so they would call, and it's like, we can't help you, we have to help the person. They'd be like, well, come get the person. They'd be like, well, we're outpatient, bring them to us. Well, they won't come to us because they're out using.
Right.
So like that wouldn't happen. Number two, and I'm sure Joey experienced this, you try to get clean, you try something, you go to an outpatient, maybe you try methadone, maybe you go to rehab, and you fail, and there's really no one there to pick you back up and go, we're going to try something else, we're not going to do that.
Right.
Not to interrupt, but how many times did you fail or did you succeed the first try?
About 9 times I went to rehab.
I didn't mean to cut you off,
Yeah.
but that's
So that,
wow.
and that was something that we would see, and that just added to the stigma, because it was like, we've already paid for someone to go to treatment 8 times, why should they go 9 times? Here's why they should go 9
That's
times.
exactly right.
So that was happening. So we designed this program based on like other evidence-based practices. Cheryl had a lot, to do with that, and we had this whole idea. Then the other thing that we knew is we wanted to have people in recovery actually work in that. But we weren't in long-term recovery, and we were like, how is that going to happen? So somewhere in there, someone was like, you got to get involved with this Club Serenity. We're like, we know them. And Cheryl's like, so what happened when you met with them? And I was like, basically, Joey and I were great, but there were a couple people there that were like, no, you guys get all the funding. Why would we help you? We're doing this for free. And why should you do it? So it took a little bit of doing.
Yes.
But eventually, like Joey, you were what? Were you the first employee? Were you the Mindy, I think. I
Yeah,
don't know.
Mindy
but
was.
they were like the first
Yeah.
employees that we had.
Okay.
Yeah, we were.
Because we got the Center of Excellence grant. There was 40, well, first there was 20, and Mon Valley Community Health Services here in Menneson, which is part of SPHS, was one of the first awardees. And then the Care Center in Washington, which is another, affiliate of SPHS, was awarded in the second round of 20.
Okay.
So we ended up being, other than UPMC in the state, here's SPHS, now we've got, 2.
Yeah.
So,
Excellent.
and those have been in operation, and now are no longer grant funded. They're sustainable. They bill insurances, and then they provide people who don't have insurance or any other means get the same service.
Yes.
So it's turned out to be really great. So that's how, and I'll let Joey talk about how I don't know how they convinced you. But
It was that's a great story. I mean, so we're at Club Serenity, and we're doing, this is Center of Excellence. This is like Governor Wolf. There was no Centers of Excellences. I had a notepad, and I would write down all the rehab numbers, and I would somehow facilitate transportation. This is no money. This is whatever. Someone needed treatment. We just helped them, and that's what it was. Nobody got
and you
paid.
guys did anything and everything to raise money. 'Cause I
Yes.
remember when
Yeah.
we pulled together the first community days in Charleroi. If you remember that, you
Yes.
guys always had a little tent, right?
Yeah.
It was
Yes.
cheesecake, I think.
Or strawberry shortcake.
Strawberry shortcake.
Yes.
That's what it was, and it was amazing. But
Yeah.
you guys were out there in the community raising money and
Yes,
doing
doing
all those
everything,
things, whatever it
selling
took.
tickets, hoagies,
Yeah.
just everything. I mean, I had my mom down there helping. She's a soldier too.
She is.
But like that whole story, how it happened, is really amazing, where, you know, we're with this philosophy, Kelly touched on that, where we kind of just didn't want to get paid. And, you know, I remember, and
Was there guilt associated with that? Not wanting to get paid, or was it just a mission?
It was just, I felt it, I think, from my background of just service in my own recovery. I felt like that's how it needed to be. And
so it was more almost like a calling.
Yes.
But Joe, you were in school? You just had started college, pretty much.
I just started my associates at the time.
Okay.
So we're talking right around 2014, I'm saying 2015, somewhere around there.
Okay.
So two persons, like I said, Cheryl and Emila. These are two people that, like, they're like, if I had people like part of my heart, they're part of my heart.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, Kelly, Cheryl, and Rita. So Cheryl Emila, which is now our Chief Operating Officer, and Rita Nichols, which is now the Center of Excellence Director.
Sure.
So they come to Club Serenity for the purpose of convincing me to work
Now this
and
is
get paid.
the Charleroi.
Yes.
And that the address, is it still?
It is.
Is it still functioning?
Well, it's 702 Fallowfield, but this was like Club Serenity version 3. So it went from 424 to 512. And so this is a 512. They come down and they say, listen, we want you to come work at this new thing called the Center of Excellence, and we're going to help you. Or we want you to help us do the same thing you're doing, but, you know, you could get paid and work. And I just didn't see it. It was, you know, Lee, Mark, myself. I don't think Mindy was there for that meeting. And, you know, I just couldn't conceptualize this whole, you know, big plan. And I, you know, at first I says, I don't know about this. You know, because I didn't know. We didn't know what a Center of Excellence was. I saw myself just being this pretty much, you know, person for Club Serenity, just doing this on my own dollar, you know, forever. That's just what I thought at the time. So, long story short, after maybe a month and a half, I ended up an employee of the Center of Excellence for SPHS in Menneson.
Nice.
And I became a care navigator. I was a certified recovery specialist. Mindy and I went for training. We were some of the first in the area. You know, that wasn't really big as it is now. We got trained. And now I was working for Rita Nichols at the time, and she was a supervisor. And you know, we were in a program we didn't know much about, but we were helping people.
Yeah.
You know, and we were just enjoying making a difference in the town where we lived, where we knew everybody, where we believed there's no failures, just delayed successes, just like us.
That is tremendous. That is tremendous. That needs to be on a T-shirt. I'm serious. What you just said needs to be on a T-shirt, because so many people give up. Right? And one of the reasons why I wanted my girl here, our studio audience today, Miss Aaliyah, to be here to hear this conversation, right? Because she's a mom of 4 teenagers and has had her own struggles, right? And that what you just said is just so simply powerful, right? Your message is incredible, young man.
Incredible.
It really is. And we're honored that you agreed to come here and share some of this stuff with us, because it's just amazing. And now you just mentioned you were working an associate. Now you've continued your education through all of this, right?
You know what? Not only have I continued my education, I'm going to do it even more.
Nice.
You know, I love education. I love school, and my wife thinks I'm crazy. But like I said, once again, our struggles don't define us; they refine us. They show us who we are. My purpose was built through our conversation, through active addiction, through meeting Cheryl and Rita, through saving people at the Center of Excellence. Like that's made me, and that's given me my purpose. Now I got the Associates of Social Work at WCCC, which is Westmoreland County Community.
Right.
Then I says, okay, I want to go. I remember having even a conversation with Kelly even after that, because I was hesitant. I was like, maybe I I don't need to get this bachelor's. I think maybe this is good enough. And then she would share a conversation, and that's that divine appointment. That's that person,
That's
Kelly,
exactly right.
in that place in your life where just maybe a simple one-liner or a simple statement just helps me just takes me out of me and says, maybe I should just keep doing this.
Right.
And I did it. I went through Cal. And I stayed through Cal. I got my Bachelor's of Social Work. I was a third person in the entire state of Pennsylvania getting the licensed Bachelor's of Social Work. I just did it because I wanted to be able to serve our clients better.
Right.
And like I said, is we got to get busy living or get busy dying. And
That's
Jack
exactly
said it,
right.
right? And like I
Exactly
said,
It's a Shawshank quote, boys.
it is, and it's
I
one of
know.
my favorites.
Yeah, she was
and
like,
it's, and sometimes you're faced with pivotal decisions in your life. And sometimes, like, those decisions determine everything else. And like I said, our purposes are built through those decisions and through us to walk through fears. And school was a fear of mine. But hey, I got my associates. I got my bachelor's. I got my license. Let's go get a master's.
Yeah.
Let's go get it.
Nice.
I got my master's, almost a 4.0. I like school. I love it there. I got my licensed social worker. I got my licensed master's exam. I got it while in graduate school, which normal people, they don't really do.
That's exactly
But I said,
right.
hey, let's just think outside the box. And but that's who I am. And I love doing stuff. Some people just settle.
Right.
I don't want to settle with sometimes what I think. I want to go reach out what God has for me. I want to go
There you
reach
go.
out for
There you
what
go, young
things
man.
that
Yep.
people just don't do
Yes,
because
sir.
they say they're impossible. They ain't impossible.
Nothing's
Our
impossible.
minds tell us that.
Right.
I'm going to go reach out. And if I fail, it's okay because I know it's going to be okay. And I got to remember that I'm human and I'm going to fail. But that builds me. And I kept going. And I just recently got accepted to Capella University because I want to get my doctorate of social work. Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
You're exactly right. And you know what jumps out at me? All of the people you mentioned, Kelly and everybody you mentioned, right, that mentored you, that propped you up. They didn't tell you you should do this, you should do that, right? They didn't try to write your story for you. All they did was hand you the pen, right? So the conversation you had with her was her handing you the pen so you could write this story yourself. And you took the pen and you did that.
Yes.
Right? And listen, those people, they should stay in your heart because they're few and far between.
Yes,
Right?
I agree.
It's easy
You didn't
whenever.
realize how wonderful a person you were.
Well, when the instinct when you encounter somebody was in your situation is like, oh, okay, well, listen, you need to do this, this, and this, right? That's not helping you, right? That's not helping you at all.
Exactly.
Or I could pick you and take you over here and sit you in this chair and tell you, here's how it's going to work. That's not helping you either, okay? But if I sit and I encourage you, okay, and just show you the path for you to walk to that chair and do what you need to do, that's helping you.
Yes.
Right? That is how you help somebody
Yes.
who is in that situation, right? You help them help themselves.
Yes, and I believe that. And
Yeah.
I believe that what I want to be is the evidence that whatever struggle you have, it's possible. Right? I was in active addiction for all those years. I committed a couple crimes. I didn't want to just settle for something on my record. Did I have to do that? No. But you know what? I applied for a pardon. Governor Wolf, I received a pardon. My record, right? My friends joke with us. I said, who's the cleanest in the valley? I didn't have that, but I don't want to settle.
Right.
I want to do that because, like I said, I could tell, like I said, I'm a mental health therapist now. I'm a supervisor in a drug and alcohol corporation that I was a client at one time
Right.
for mental health treatment.
Right.
You know
You're
what I mean?
exactly
I
right.
sat
This is
there
amazing.
thinking there was no hope. Now I am the hope. You see what I'm saying?
You embody this. Your story, you need to be, we need to lift you up and put you at the top of the ladder, right? Because your story that you have defined yourself, you've written this story, okay, with help from other people, but you wrote the story. You are the embodiment of redemption, of success, of coming from that darkest place that a human being could ever find themselves in and stepping into the light, and then not only stepping into the light, but shining the light for everybody else to follow you.
Watching it happen from a distance, there was an early 90s crowd that he and I
Yes.
were both a part of that, how many friends we knew personally that didn't make it out alive?
Right,
That didn't make it out alive. I'm not
There's a
talking
lot.
that did not
Sure,
make it out
yeah.
alive. And I went about my life, and Joey went about his life. And then every once in a while, I would see you on Facebook or pick up the paper, and I'd say, "Is this the same Joey Pagano that you know what I mean? This is Governor Wolf right here. This is Kelly SPHS. This is the same Joey Pagano." And you just can't say enough. And now you're sitting here. It's a miracle.
It's It's truly
It's a miracle. It's an act of God.
It is. It
You
is.
know?
And it just goes to show you. And I wrote in my blog today about Plan B, right? Everybody starts out with a Plan A. Like when you're young, you come up. We talked about it. Like when you talk to your children when they're little, what do you want to be when you grow up? An astronaut, surgeon, whatever the case may be. Plan A very rarely works, right? Sometimes it does. There's those unique individuals that are committed. Okay, and they follow the steps and they follow them exactly, right? But the majority of us, we wind up pretty quickly at Plan B. The ones that fail in Plan B, right, are the ones that keep trying to force Plan A into Plan B. Okay, so you accepted that, right? And maybe you accepted it because you didn't see any other choice. I was there, right?
Yes.
I got to a point where the way I was living my life, was not sustainable, right? So I had to make a choice. I had no choices. So my choice was easy because there were no choices, right? And this one sitting over here in the corner, at about 15 years old, literally saved my life. She was my Kelly. She was a high school kid. She was a teenager, right? And she would talk to me about things that were going on in her life. When I look back on it now, I thought I was helping her. She was helping me, right? And the best thing she ever did for me was introduce me to her mother. So there's, but if I point to people in my life that, I've had a lot of professional mentors, right? And a lot of people who cared about me, okay? But when I met Aaliyah and her mother and her family, that's when I really found myself and became who I am right here, and all of this came into play, right? Yeah. Just like you. So I was blessed because there were a lot of people that walked away from me, and you get that.
Yes.
People that you loved and cared about, that thought loved and cared about you, just walked away.
Yes.
They step over you and just keep right on going, and it's difficult enough to pull yourself out of there without having a Kelly or an Aaliyah or somebody like that sees something, a spark. Whatever that is that very few other people can see.
And I see the miracle in all this. It's right now where I'm at in my life. I met a woman and I got married and so many things have happened. Now, like I said, my wife works for SPHS, Jody, and her story's similar. To mine. We're both
and you're
in
a dad
school.
now, right?
Yeah. I'm a dad right now, and she has a daughter, and she might be my stepdaughter, but she's my daughter.
Well, that's
and
this is my daughter right here, right? Okay, and that's in every sense of that word. This child is my daughter.
That's
right?
it,
and that's how I introduce her.
And the miracle of all this happening through all my struggles, it's not my wife watching me and her going to school. It's our daughter seeing us and her wanting to improve her grades because we become that example.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just like the client seeing that and seeing the hope and seeing the pardon on the wall in the office and seeing that and inquiring about stuff. Those are the miracles.
Yes.
Those are the miracles when the people we love or people we know or people we meet are able to grow through our hope.
But Joey, that's when you say that. So I think back and Rita, Cheryl, all the people that work with us, we talk about it a lot. You have a professional career and you go to school and you do things to make yourself better and you go to trainings and you research and you do these things, but we all truly believe that beginning to work with people in long-term recovery, that was the game changer for us in our careers because it's that partnership. It's that kind of mission that we went on together and said, we're going to do this program together and the success that we have had. Joey and I could tell you, so these centers of excellence are all in the state now. We're graded. They're heavily, not monitored, but there's a lot of data and there's a lot of data collection. The University of Pittsburgh does it. And they tier you, and we're the highest tier. I mean, their COEs are probably one of the highest, if not the highest, as far as the outcomes. Right. So they're delivering. They're not only doing the work every day, they're getting good outcomes. And now there's 5 more. They're all over the region. So there's, I think, 7 instead of just the original too, but that was changing for us. So it's like, everyone's like, oh yeah, and Joey's like, yeah, and I met you, and that put a change, but that changed us professionally and personally, and learned so much more, how to be better people, how to be, how to persevere, how to do a better job, how to deal with stigma. The things about the system that were broken that we got a new perspective on, and we were able to change. And we do a lot of things, at SPHS, and I love them all, and I get excited about everything that we do. But, you always have those ones that, like, when you go to sleep at night, they just touch you in a different way.
Sure, absolutely.
Because this is the one, that it touches people that I know real up close and personal. So you're like, and you see those people getting better, and you think, yeah, this was worth it. It's all the hard work is
Having
worth it.
the capacity in your own heart to have faith and trust, and Joey, I love you to death, I'm just being honest, but to have that type of faith in your heart to trust an addict. You are bringing in and working with addicts. These are recovering long-term addicts, and you're bringing them in and you're working with them.
Sure.
When it's much easier, when you said about stigma, when it's much easier to...
Oh, you don't know how much you have to overcome. I'm gonna air the laundry. I mean, there were people that when people first started working, they were like, well, will they be getting paid? Like, are they the same, what kind of job is this? Are they going to
be handling medication?
It was like hard for people to get that, part of it. And then we've taken it a step further. Like, we're like, Joey's management, he's right above mid-management.
He's in a leadership.
You know what I mean? So we want people in all aspects, whether it be in our finance, whether it be in HR, whether it be in our information technology. Like, we want people. If Joey would say, which obviously he wanted to get into social work, which makes me happy, but if he would have said, hey, I want to get my MBA and I want to be, in finance, then we would have taken that journey with him, because we can't just say, we believe this is a disease and we believe that it, it shouldn't be stigmatized, and then be like, well, I don't know if I'm going to hire you.
You have to walk the walk, right? To throw a cliche out there, right?
And we've had to go to bat, like, for people who have, it's like you roll out the criminal background check. You just don't go, here's a couple pages. I mean, it's like, you're like carrying it in, and you're like, okay, there's a little bit of baggage we're gonna have to get through.
I think that speaks volumes to the
make that
integrity of the corporation that's able to do that.
Because it's
what
hard.
the one word that you said just now, you said that through this, that you and your team have grown professionally and personally, right? That's the key, because experience and expertise that's great, but if you don't have the heart to go with that experience and expertise, this doesn't happen.
Yes.
Right?
It just comes...
This can't be a clinical thing. You have to care somewhat, at some level, you have to care about these people that come to you for care. Right?
It comes down to the same thing that I do with my clients and what SPHS does. They took a chance on someone.
Right.
And they went out on a limb and they, apply some trust. And when you do that, to persons that, like, some of us, like, we felt failures, right?
Sure,
a lot of us are in recovery.
Absolutely.
This is our first job, because we were in active addiction for decades.
Right.
So SPHS took a chance on us, and that gamble it paid off, and it changed all of our lives.
It's an unfortunate part of this aspect of life when you deal with addiction and things like that, and it's very unfortunate, and you know yourself firsthand, there are a lot of people who love to see you struggle, who would love to see you fail, and it is a old truth. They would love to see somebody in your position relapse, fail, and it's people like this lady right here with the faith and trust and love that really make the biggest difference.
Yeah, and you can't say enough about faith, especially hope and faith, right? You had faith because you talked several times since we've been here today about prayer. Yes. How prayer helped you get through that, right? Yes. And so that faith leads to hope, right? Yeah. Without that faith, without the prayer, you would have no hope, and without any hope, there's no way you succeed.
Because in a moment in our life, that's all I had.
Right.
I didn't have anything else, but just praying in those foxhole prayers, I didn't have anything.
That's exactly right.
And those struggles built me.
And that's what makes them stronger on that team, because our our team is very different than a lot of the other centers. I mean, I can't speak to what they do and don't do, but they'll continue to the point of, like, sometimes it's like, okay, that's one step too far when, like, the police are coming because you're trying to get to somebody who...
We don't stop.
Yeah, they just keep...
Right.
You know, if even when the person doesn't have any more hope,
Yes.
can you imagine?
Sure.
You know, like, so to me, out of that, you know, team, when I come across someone and someone calls me, because that happens, people will call me and say, hey, can you help me? You know, my cousin, my brother, my friend, my neighbor, I'm seeing this happen. And this team, they will go out, they'll try to track that person down, they'll try to continue to engage a relationship with them until that person's ready, make those, you know, small steps. And there's people, they've been trying to get into treatment for years.
Forever. And,
Right.
and I think that's
And they'll
what,
keep trying.
That's what makes us special. You know, and I have so many great team members, from employees to supervisors, that we're all the same in
Right.
that aspect, because we don't give up. Because, you know, I right now I'm a supervisor in Waynesburg, and we're trying to really make a difference down in Greene County, where we have the Center of Excellence. And
Sure.
And we have clients where they say this to me, and it's just like, why don't you just give up on me? I'm not going to make it. Just give up. And I says, I am never going to give up.
Right.
You can yell at me, you can cuss me out. I don't care what it is, because you know what? I'm going to do whatever I can, and I'm going to meet you halfway where you're at, not where I'm at, and I'm going to continue to help you, because I say that same line. He said, but you're not a failure.
Right.
You're a delayed success.
Your work in progress,
And
a
if
delayed
I gave
success,
up
and
on
that's
you,
beautiful.
You know, I can't do that. Nobody gave up on me. After 9 rehabs, guess what? I made
Right.
it.
Yeah.
And I got to continue helping people
Yep.
the same way that I was helped.
Yeah, and
and
we
that's
have-
what we do with the CO.
Yeah, and we have a secret. It's not really secret. We put it out there, but we laugh because it's secret, because the state, and really probably other places in the nation, there's this concept of warm handoffs in substance abuse and also mental health. It's taught, you know, that if you have an individual you're working with and they're in some level of care, say they're an inpatient, that you want to do this warm handoff. You want to, like, personally introduce them to where they're going for outpatient. And as a social worker, I'm not saying it's not a good thing, but I've watched it over 30 years, and, like, it works, but it doesn't work, because here's what happens. You warm hand off that person, Joey will tell you, they show up for the first point, maybe they show up once or other twice, and then you can't see them.
Yeah.
An outpatient person can't do anything. They could
Right.
call, you know, maybe they could send an email, maybe they could call again, they could send a letter, I don't know. But if the person quits coming, they quit coming. This
Right.
team, you know, we've taken it a step further, and we've kind of coined this phrase, like, we do warm hand holding. Like, we're going to hold your hand the whole time.
There you go.
And it's so important, because the first shot might not work. So say you go to rehab and they kick you out, or you leave, or you walk out in the middle of the night. They're 24/7.
Okay.
They have on call. They will come, they'll come get you, and they'll try to get you into another rehab or another level of care or a different provider.
Or take you to treatment at 2 a.m.
Right.
Right.
Whatever
Whatever
it
you
kind of
need.
whatever it kind of takes.
Whatever it
So-
takes, right.
Whatever it takes.
But that's what this is needed, because
Yes.
if not, like, what's the alternative? I mean, it makes me sad. That's a big problem, because even people in this community, I see it all the time. Like, they're on the fringe of, like, yeah, I hang at the bar, I just drink, I really don't use opiates, I'm not on heroin, I just, you know, I have some pain pills and I take them, and most times I don't take more than I'm prescribed, but every once in a while, like, my buddy will be drinking, I'll be like, hey, do you have one, or you know where I could buy one,
Sure.
or whatever.
It's a big
And
issue.
guess what? It is a big issue, because now,
big issue.
when you buy something, it probably is not, you know, someone's
Right.
prescription Vicodin or someone's prescription
Yeah.
anything. It's probably like a stamped pill. It's probably whatever it is, and it probably has fentanyl in it. And
Right.
it could be your last pill.
That could be your last pill you ever
could be
take.
it.
Yes.
You're exactly
And
right.
it's you know, scary. So we just have to keep out there doing what, you know, we're doing, and trying to spread that word more, and see that you don't have to be down and out, and you don't have to be. We have so many people. Joey comes from a very successful family.
Yeah.
Like, that's this real
Yes.
misconception that people
It-
have.
absolutely.
because they're
Addiction
like-
does not
Absolutely.
discriminate.
Yeah, it's
That's
like
exactly
every,
right.
you know.
And it's
So-
it's in every family. The
Right.
potential for it is in every
Yes.
family.
Right, and we could help, and we could help.
Yes, and especially and when she talks about help, it's help in some dark times,
Sure.
right? And we talk about the pandemic, the opioid epidemic. It was, pretty much happened at the same time, part of
Right.
that, and people are overdosing at an alarming rate, and it's a dark time. But what the COE is the light.
Yep.
And safety and happiness can be found even in the darkest times
Absolutely.
if someone remembers to turn on the light.
Absolutely.
Amen to
And the
that.
COE is that
Absolutely.
light.
Yeah. And the club too. I mean, I just want to give them a plug. I mean, they have, over these past several years, they have thrived. They have
That's
been
amazing.
able to track down
Yes.
other
Yes.
funding. Their place is beautiful. They have a new facility. They opened 2 recovery houses here in
Yep.
Menneson, a women's and a men's.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm very
They
happy to
help
hear
people
that.
all the
because-
time.
Yeah.
They do,
Right.
really, really well, and we're
and-
super
and-
proud of them.
And whenever I stepped aside, Mark St. Cyr is their president. You got Mindy McCloy, Lee Roberts, Becky Pippick, April, Kolick. You have all these just
Yeah.
pretty much recovery soldiers that have stepped in and
Yep.
with the help of SPHS and the different drug and alcohol commissions, like. It's just so amazing to see like recovery houses come to fruition,
Yeah.
and it's like
Yeah.
just remembering those talks at the council meetings where
Yep.
it happened, and people like
Right.
that come out of outpatient or come out of inpatient have safe places to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, it's some dark times, and,
Right.
and there's really, I mean, you look at Washington County as a whole. There's a lot of recovery houses in Washington. The Mon Valley needs love too.
Absolutely.
The Mon Valley has
Absolutely.
persons suffering, and Club Serenity is making a dent.
Yeah.
When somebody goes into rehab, right? So you're in 30 days normally, right? Is that what, okay? You're not cured when you come out. You're far from cured, right? So if you put somebody out, just open a door and just kick them out on the street, what are they going to do? They're going to revert back to what they know,
Yes.
where that comfort was,
Yes.
right? It can't be that. It can't just be rehab. There's got to be something that comes after it, right? This is a
yes.
void that you guys are filling.
Yes, and it all goes back to like social work systems theory. Just looking at it as a whole is like you can't put the person into a toxic environment
Right.
after they leave there, because that environment is
Right.
going to affect them. Stay clean and get stability. How could they stay clean if you're sending them to a house where everybody uses illicit substances in that house?
Exactly.
Housing has to be an issue. Like housing has to be something where they can go somewhere safe, and that's why Club Serenity, SPHS, have been fighting the fight to look at the whole picture, and where it's just as important as inpatient is
Yeah.
outpatient.
And it's
is
really
housing.
cool to see them too, because on that team, there are people in recovery, but there are also
Yes.
people who aren't in recovery, and there's physicians.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have 2 really great physicians, Jason Lukasavic and Scott Cook, among others, but those 2 just,
Brian.
pop out in my mind. Then you have other staff that work together, and there's no like, well, I'm the doctor, you're a long term. Everyone is equal on that
Yes.
team.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yes, and we have great, like Kelly said, we have great
Because that goes
relationship
against
with the
human nature
physicians.
again.
Yes.
And that's where you have that personal piece, the love and respect has to come in. There has to be a level of love that comes from the heart in order to do this and succeed the way you guys are.
It is.
Healing somebody from addiction in particular, from anything really, it's got to be holistic, right? You can't just heal the body. You've also got to heal the environment that body that exists in.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
And that's what you're providing.
Yes.
Okay. The clinical side is one thing, and there's a lot. Hospitals provide clinical care, and but the rest of the healing process, the environment, the things that what comes after the clinical process is what I see you guys providing. That there's been a void there, and now here, at least locally, you guys are filling that void. That's amazing.
Yeah, I think eventually, through the data they're gathering, it's our hope that they'll use that and they'll use the program design that we have, and eventually maybe it will become, maybe not a full-blown evidence-based practice, but it'll be like a best practice model.
There you go.
Because I think it's so successful. When
I
you
agree.
look at, there's people that are still on the fringe, it's not 100%, but their outcomes are significantly higher
Yes.
of getting people into treatment, keeping people engaged, keeping people in treatment.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to do. The whole idea is just to help people.
Then you got to win hearts and minds first.
Yeah, and
right?
that's where the disparities were.
That's exactly right. Because, there are very few societal issues that carry a bigger stigma than drug addiction.
Yes.
Right? Drug addicts are almost automatically and universally looked down upon. Okay? And that makes that recovery 10 times more difficult. You know,
It does.
and one of the things that I see, even, you know, when you see, it's kind of on the back burner now, but the debate that raged a while ago about Narcan, right? Why would we waste that time and effort on a junkie, on an addict, right? Why would we do that? You know, and that's unacceptable, right? That's just unacceptable. Every human life has value.
Yes.
Right? And I saw somebody wrote somewhere, and I can't remember exactly who it was, but the quote was, everybody matters or nobody matters. There's no in between, right? So we've got to make that decision. You made the decision that everybody matters, and I applaud you for that, because that's the way I live my life. That's why we're sitting here having this conversation.
And you know, I couldn't talk enough about Narcan. You know, that's something like we're a program of harm reduction, and like I
Right.
said, we meet people where they're at, not where we're at.
Right.
I might think they
Right.
need inpatient, but they might not be there yet. They might be in
Right.
pre-contemplation, some form of denial, where they're not ready for that.
And again, and you
say,
can't
"Hey,
force that."
I can't. If they're not
Right.
ready, I can't say the right thing.
Right.
But if they're ready, I can't say the wrong thing. And what I do is sometimes, I remember one day, you know, we'll talk about another great person, Brian Issy, which is the supervisor of the Washington Center of Excellence,
Sure.
another recent MSW graduate, and one of my good friends. You know, him and I remember we have, I think it's like 400 to 500 clients in the Washington Center of Excellence. That just tells you
Wow.
how big that is of
Wow.
helping. And one time where there was, I
And
think
again,
it was...
most people walking, hold that thought, but most people walking around Washington County don't think there's that big of an issue.
And that's just one off.
Right.
No,
right.
it's just
that's
one,
There's like
that's
more
one
than
office.
that in the Mon Valley.
And that
that's
day,
that's a number that'll hit you right in the face.
Yes.
Well, if you go back to, like I said, the early 90s, and I'm sure you can attest to this, Kel, this thing hit like the opioid,
Yes.
I can remember vividly.
Right.
When
Yeah.
oxys hit the streets.
Yes.
It hit like a
and
brush
if you
fire.
could remember when all those overdoses, I think we were on headline news. It said like 8 overdoses in 72 hours. It was something really
Yeah.
extreme. I remember Brian and I, where what we end up doing was we're giving and talking to Reed and our other colleagues, we're going to give Narcan to everybody. And if we can't
Yeah.
give it to everybody, we're going to try our best.
Right.
And our staff just went out and went house to house, every client we could possibly just give Narcan.
That's amazing.
And we did our best, because like sometimes that's as good as it gets.
Exactly.
Sometimes, you know, like I said, is I have clients now that I have one I could even think of, like I give them Narcan, like the same thing, and that's all that's it. And they don't want to talk to me. They just give me Narcan. And then maybe 2 weeks later, I don't go to their house, and then they call me. Where are you at?
Yeah.
I said, what do you mean,
Yeah.
where are you at?
Well,
You
how
don't want
many
me here.
times, Joe, has someone went out
Yeah.
that your own team has had to revive someone?
Reviving people
life and
from
death.
overdose.
Right.
And that's the same thing. And sometimes us giving Narcan, like what Kelly was saying, is we've had clients revive client. You know what I mean? Like, or
Right,
whatever it is,
right.
like we just give them, I don't need any. Well, keep it at your house just in case.
Right.
You know, whatever it is, just take it.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it saves someone's lives, it's all worth it.
Absolutely, it's
saves
worth
one.
it. One life is everything, right? That's
That's it.
everything. If you can change one life, if you can save one life, if you can make a difference
Yes.
in one life, you've done something pretty special.
If they would have stopped on you after 8.
After 4.
After
That's
8,
what I'm
after
saying.
4, after, yeah.
I mean, not very many
if you
people
don't make
would
it
have
to
stayed
9,
with you to 4 or 5 or 6, let alone 9, right? So that's a blessing. And again, you know, I love the fact that you get that, right? There's nothing self-indulgent about you at all. You know how blessed you are, right, to be sitting here right now today.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And I know, like I said, I was in the same place for a different reason, but I was there, and that's where this comes from. And
Yes.
you and I are going to talk more about this young man, because that is you.
Yeah.
When somebody, I get asked a lot what that means, right? You know what I'm going to tell them? You want to know what that means? Follow Joey Pagano. Then they'll know what that means, right? Because, I mean, people look at me, and it's like, they don't get it, right? Because if I said I was addicted to heroin and that put me in that dark place, or if I was an alcoholic and that's what got me, it wasn't anything of that, right? My battle was with depression. That's what drove me down to that thing, okay? And then incorrectly and over-medicating depression, all right, which compounded. So
self-medicating.
Right. So when you think about how you got there at that point, when you're that dark, when you get to that darkness and you know this,
Yes.
how you got there is irrelevant, right? So whether you and I, if you and I are sitting there together next to each other, and you got there because you were addicted to heroin, and I got there because I was addicted to depression, whatever the case may be, right? It makes it not a damn bit of difference at that point to you and I.
Exactly.
Right? So what you're talking about is, it's yes, what you're doing in that community is special, okay? But everything that we've talked about here is applicable to a lot of other things other than drug addiction.
Yes.
I
Right?
keep in my car, I keep the Alcoholics Anonymous book, the blue book. There's a guy that I work with, Scotty Frederick. Brian and I have worked with him for years. He's a recovering alcoholic. And I bought one of the books off of him, and I keep it in my car. And if you take the word alcoholism out, you can put any other word in there.
Sure.
Drugs, pornography, anything you want to put in
Yeah.
there. And all you're doing is replacing the word, and all of the things line up the same way. Addiction is addiction is addiction.
Right.
It doesn't
Yes.
matter what the addiction is. It doesn't matter how it facilitates itself,
Right.
how it manifests itself.
I have a question for all three of you, and it's just something that I'm curious about because I have a feeling about this, but I want to see where you guys are at. Do you think that it's a danger? Do you think it's easy when somebody goes into rehabilitation to replace their addiction with another addiction? Right? In other words, just say for the sake of argument, you go, because addiction is habitual, right? Right?
I think Brian did that with shoes.
Listen, I have
Rubbed off on me
somebody.
a little bit.
I have somebody who's close to me who was an alcoholic, went into rehab, okay? Never smoked a cigarette in their life, come out of rehab, all of a sudden they're smoking 2 packs of cigarettes a day,
I think
which is an addiction,
Yeah,
right?
I think what's important is everyone's journey is different.
Right.
And everything is so specific. So for some people, yes. For some people, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And I think that's, the most...
That was my question. Is it common? Is there
can't-
something that happens
It
that
could
can't
be,
happen?
it could be, but I think when we focus on it being, very individualized, though it is, and Joey and I talked about it, anytime that, we talk about it, and it's funny that you say, like what happens with people and could that happen? It's a delicate, fragile situation.
Yeah, I believe
And so we do the work, we get referrals constantly. Unfortunately, it's sad that we're as busy as we are. But we wanted to at least put that phone number out because there could be someone who watches this that's like, you know what? Maybe I just want to call and talk to Joey, or maybe, and they could call 24/7. So we wanted to do that.
We have a number. It's our Center of Excellence on call, which is 24/7, 365. It's 1-888-810-8595. And there is a navigator waiting to answer at any time and to help persons suffering from addiction.
And then you don't have to commit to anything.
Right.
You could just
Right.
call. You don't even have to say
Yeah.
who you are, where
Hey,
you are.
I need Narcan.
There you go.
Wherever you're willing to start, even if it's a couple-minute conversation,
Yes.
we'll start with that.
Yes.
Yeah, please. And if you're in that space and you need somebody to talk to, you need some help, please call. Or if you know anybody in that space, please call these guys because they're doing some pretty special stuff. So, listen, guys, thank you so much. Thank you for coming and joining us, Kelly. It's an honor, Joey. Listen, my man, I love you. I love what you're doing. Keep doing it. And if there's anything that my man and I can do to help moving forward, and
Thank
I'd
you.
like to revisit some things here with you guys and your organization and other areas of your organization, because I think what SPHS is doing as a whole in this part of the world is pretty special and it's very important. So thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you so much.
you.
I appreciate it,
Absolutely,
Jack.
100%.